It's part one of our interview with super producer David Hentschel. I'm John Beaudin from Rock History Music. Well, with all the hoopla around Genesis, we thought it'd be appropriate to start our part one with super producer David Hentschel, who of course produced multiple albums for Genesis. The Phil Collins years, even though he had been involved with the band before Phil was lead singer. The guy who at Trident Studio produced some amazing albums. And a host of other artists that we're going to talk about in this series. But since it's sort of a Genesis day today, let's talk about his beginnings with that band.
I'd heard the story that Phil decided to do Squonk, and then it turned out so good that he decided to do the rest. Or who decided that Phil was going to do the rest of the album?
It was decided very quickly. I mean, we even got, I can't remember the guys' names now, but we even had two guys come in. We'd started recording all the backing tracks, which is a real no-no if you're producing a record, actually. You don't do that until certainly you know what key the vocalist range is. Then you change the key to the songs to see it. But Genesis never did that anyway. But that's why a lot of them were always very high. Phil and Peter were always stretching for the notes because they were a lot of them were in the wrong keys actually. But anyway, we had two guys come in, and one guy was really good. It was just it wasn't his key. He couldn't reach the notes. It was as simple as that. So Phil said, I knew Phil. I'd known Phil. I'd kept up with Phil socially since nursery rhyme, and we've become really good friends. And I knew he was itching to have a go and try out. You read a lot about him needing to be persuaded. He didn't need persuading at all. He really wanted to do it, but he didn't want to push himself to the others. He didn't want to be seen as being too pushy. But inside, he really wanted to do it. And he sang Swank, and it was just like perfect. People don't realise he had sung a lot on the previous albums, and people didn't actually know that it wasn't Peter a lot of the time, because there is a similarity in their voices actually, particularly in those higher ranges, and so it wasn't difficult for the public to relate to it because it sounded pretty seamless, and he obviously understood all the music because he'd been in the band for a while and he'd been performing, he'd been singing on stage. So I mean, the only difficult thing for him was he wanted to be a drummer as well. That was the difficult thing, and then that's why Chester came in.
Yeah. What was the reaction with the other guys when they were sitting down and listening to Squonk with him singing? I mean, were they all really happy? I mean,
really happy and ecstatic isn't something that goes along with those guys. They're very. They won't go crazy about stuff at all. Yeah. I think it's working. I think we can work with this kind of thing.
I remember listening to the album, going, "Yeah, this works."
We'll have more of our conversation with the great David Hentschel. It was a long interview. I think I talked to David for an hour and a half, so we're going to cover a lot of ground with this. Some of you have been asking, why don't you release the entire interview at one piece? It just doesn't work because our dropout rate a lot of the times is like 3 minutes, 5 minutes. And I know some of you say, well, other people release long form videos and they do well. I don't like to do it that way. I like to chop them up. But here's the good news. We're going to create a members section for this YouTube channel where basically you'll have access to the entire interview. But that'll cost you money. Not a lot, because that will be fairly affordable. But we're also going to start a podcast where you'll be able to hear the entire interviews. And if you want to support this channel, make sure you buy a t-shirt. Just a simple t-shirt. They're good quality. They have our logo on them. You can get the big logo, the small logo, and a lot more different types of t-shirts coming up. As we say in all our videos, we're hiring students to basically edit our interviews so we can get them to you a lot sooner because we're way behind right now. More from David Hentschel coming up next week. Make sure you comment on our video, subscribe to our channel, and share our videos. I'm John Beaudin. This is Rock History Music.